You struggled with your casting, so you used a bait boat, didn't you?
Nice, isn't it? Do you know, a lot of people said to me at this show, you're getting picked on a lot. And here it is, straight away, New Year, bosh.
That's funny, isn't it?
What is the problem then?
No, there's no problem here.
Come on, you're amongst friends, tell us.
What's the problem?
What do you think? What's going wrong?
I remember you saying it before, and it's pretty drastic.
Yeah, it's quite a dark story to finish, actually. But tree surgeon saw knife, like a massive, like huge, like proper bastard, like, I don't know, probably about 20-inch one of those. And the other guy had a normal, traditional knife. But
Just
quite
a normal machete?
Yeah, no, quite a big knife, not just like a pen knife, like one of those ones you get in a little holster. Start getting the gear up to the wall. I said, I ain't staying here, mate. I just didn't fancy it. There was quite a few of them up there, obviously.
You didn't fancy it?
No, mate,
So
it's not worth it.
The one good thing that
fancy
came out of this,
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
It takes a week to get off of it, really.
probably better say in case this
And
is
in
being
the-
recorded, this is a legal inhaler. This isn't a load of gear getting chucked on the table. This is an actual inhaler you can buy from the chemist.
No, that's
It's not an inhaler. It's the, like, xylometaxylene is the drug.
Yeah, nasal spray.
Love that stuff.
Yeah, I do.
I was addicted to that at all.
Yeah,
Alfie
he
loves
still
it
is.
as well.
There's a whole community of us.
Yeah.
There is.
There's loads of people.
Yeah.
That you could. If you start using it, you don't get off of it.
We meet up every Wednesday in a circle.
I bet that it's a large part of their revenue.
The first time I started listening to chat a bit, because I think I told you, one of them had got ill and he was using it. He'd gone down the rabbit hole of finding out everyone that was addicted to it. He said it's a real thing.
Oh yeah, there's this big like Reddit groups now of people how to get off of it.
Brilliant.
Classic addiction.
Classic.
Are we rolling, by the way? We're rolling, right?
Of course we are.
Cool.
Should we get into it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
And
New
the
Year,
same
mate.
to
Yeah.
everyone else.
Yep.
Everybody listening and watching, yes. Back again. We are early January. We've all been off and had a nice festive break. I hope everyone had a good Christmas.
Brilliant. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very
It's
nice.
actually my first day back in the office. I was up Newcastle the weekend, so I didn't even come in on it was Thursday, Friday.
Thursday,
next week.
Friday last week,
you started, didn't you?
I didn't. I came in
some-
today as well.
Oh, did you? We're straight back in, straight on the podcast.
It's good though, isn't it?
That's
It's a
commitment.
Nice way of saying hello to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came in and propped it up, Spoons, didn't we?
Yeah, well, you know.
Keep the company.
Right, today, what we are going to do, the biggest
Good job
thing,
you're back.
the biggest thing we're going to do today is behind me and Spooner there is Damo's rods. And for those that don't know, we did a competition before Christmas where somebody was going to win that one-off set of custom Kaizens.
Yeah.
The premise was you had to send us in a story, either a funny Bankside incident or a confession. First of all, thanks to everybody that did do that, because
How many did we get?
like 250 or something.
Something like that.
Really?
Yeah, it was loads, and I've read through every single one of them.
Fair play.
Well, there's some terrible ones.
Yeah.
From him.
I want them rods.
There was a lot of entries, well, far too many that revolved around bowel movements
Oh, no.
I
and
can
poorly
imagine.
functioning.
Yeah, we had to steer clear of those. But because there was so many, Damo has picked a few that he thought were really good. So I believe he's going to read through those, and then we'll sort of make a decision between us on
Okay.
which one wins the rods. And then maybe the other two will get something like a little Korda clothing goodie bag or something.
I didn't realise they were the rods you were giving away.
Yeah.
That's like
Yes, proper,
they're
isn't
good.
it?
Why have you given them ones away?
I said that. When I saw them before, I said, Christ, I would have given you a hoodie or something to give away if I'd have seen them. They would have gone straight in my cupboard.
Well,
Straight in my
'cause,
basket.
I'm not using them at the moment. I've sort of gone on to the 12'6", and
Well, you say at the moment, you're never going to be able to use them
no, I'm
again
not going to use
now.
them again. No, it's fine.
You've got 9,000 rods. How many rods have you got?
Way too many.
Yeah, good answer.
Way too many.
Probably best not say.
No.
Right.
We've also got a funny story Damo's going to read out from friend of the company, Turtle.
No, it's
and-
about Turtle.
Oh, it's about Turtle. Right,
Yeah.
okay, so
Oh,
it can
it's-
come from
okay.
him.
It ain't come from him. He would not have written this story.
Okay, great.
Oh, I think I know the story. I think I had it sent to me as well.
Did you?
I'm going to say nothing.
No, well, we'll probably get straight into that in a minute. And then we've obviously got some questions lined up that hopefully we'll get to at the end and answer some of the viewers' questions. So
Great.
we'll let Damo lead us off.
Right, cool. Right. There was literally hundreds of entries, and I read them all. So there's a few here which I'm just going to mention, ones of note, if you like. So Jacob Meller, who barreled into a weed bed from a high bank trying to save his rod after getting it pulled in. That was quite funny. Billy Spink, who's tried to convince his son William not to bubble him up to his wife after 4-year-old William fell in the lake. Another good one. Jamie Jones catching his personal best. I hope your girlfriend's listening to this. On your girlfriend's rod when she had a take and didn't wake up, only for you to land the fish and recast her rod.
No.
And act like nothing had happened.
Good angling.
Brilliant. Love that.
Very good.
There's a really bad one, actually. Simon Jones, who whilst clearing weed pulled in a spigot mortar, which was like a World War II bazooka, only to end up closing down the motorway next to the lake whilst the bomb disposal team blew it up.
Spigot, what's that then? Is it actually a bomb?
Yeah, mortar bomb.
No.
I hate when that happens.
You normally just chuck them in the lake behind you, don't you?
Yeah, normally.
So I'm going to read the story about Turtle, because he's a mate of ours. He used to work at Gigantica, and it's quite funny. So this is from your mate, your friend, Glenn Butler. This is my confession about a trip to one of the best carp lakes in France, which shall remain nameless. The content of this confession is quite personal and involves the venue bailiff, who shall also remain nameless, but we will refer to him here as the Grand Fromage. That's Turtle's nickname, the Big Cheese. The lake in question is in the Champagne region. It's around 35 acres in size and has the most beautiful blue-coloured water. It also contained carp of gigantic proportions. The bailiff, a big man in both stature and standing, I took to him instantly. We spent the first part of the week chatting about fishing-related stuff, and I found out we were of a similar age and both from Essex, and had many mutual friends. I can't describe exactly what I was feeling about the Grand Fromage. It was a bit strange. One of the days was particularly hot. I was sitting in my swim with the Grand Fromage, and he suggested we have a swim to cool down. As he stripped down to his boxers, I was in awe of some of his striking tattoos. Anyway,
They're so shit his toes, they're worse than yours.
Anyway, we went armed with a lilo, him on one side, me on the other, and we paddled out into the cooling waters of the lake. It was then at that moment, about 50 wraps out in the crystal clear cooling water, when our eyes met across the lilo, that I worked out what the feelings were that I was having. I fancied him, and he fancied me. I cannot go into too much more detail here for obvious reasons, but let's just say that it was a trip of a lifetime. I achieved a few personal bests without catching a fish. Unfortunately, the said bailiff is home now and no longer works at the lake. I've tried to rekindle the carpy connection, but I've failed up till now. The moments we spent walking around the lake, holding hands, will live with me forever.
Who is Glenn Butler then?
No
Is he
idea.
Glenn Butler?
Oh, I striked him.
Wasn't there a rumour going around that Dan and Turtle would slept
Yes.
with each other when at
Yeah, there was.
I
Yes, there
remember,
was.
I remember being there and people turning up. So
Yeah.
the Turtle's obviously got a bit of a game right.
That story went round in so many different formats as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they always do, don't
Partly
they?
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
No smoke around fire.
No, exactly. Yeah, definitely happened.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
so,
very good.
this is one of the two which I've sort of singled out as the best ones. This one's from Richard Stangroom. So, I think it was in the early 2000s when my friend Neil and I decided to go up to Linford for a quick overnight session. We didn't have a particular lake in mind, but when we turned up, we bumped into Jason Cann and Tim Hodges, who were planning on doing the night on Park Farm 1 and 2 respectively. Anyway, being friends with them both, Tim talked us into fishing on Park Farm 2 with him so we could have a social. The two lakes were split by a stretch of bank that ran through the middle, and having both lakes to ourselves, we all fished along the central bank with Neil, Tim and I fishing Park Farm 2 and Jason fishing on the same stretch of bank into Park Farm 1. I can't remember for sure exactly what time of year it was, but it would have been during the summer because I remember it didn't start getting dark until just gone 9. The reason I remember that is because the start of this story happened at dusk and incredibly didn't finish until 6:30 the next morning. It was mid-afternoon when we started getting set up for the night, and from memory we got an Indian takeaway delivered at around 7 p.m. and all sat around tucking into both food and a few beers. As was always the case when Tim was around, there was a lot of good quality piss-taking and banter, mainly aimed at Jason, who had previously been given the nickname Planet due to the fact some of his ideas were so out there. Tim used to say he lives on Planet Jason. At around 9 p.m, just on dusk, the sound of a gunshot silenced the conversation for a few short seconds. The sound came across from the narrow lane from where we were fishing. Obviously, we were out in the countryside and therefore didn't think too much about it, and very quickly got back into the social. Probably less than 5 minutes later, we heard some car doors slammed and a car screamed off down the lane, burning rubber and clearly going much faster than the usual infrequent traffic we would hear. Despite this, once again, it wasn't something we paid much attention to, and within a couple of minutes we were back taking the piss out of Planet. It was around about half an hour later when a police helicopter turned up and started circling around the lake. By now it was fully dark, and having had a few to drink, we thought it might be funny to run around and then disappear into our bivvies for a minute or so, and then come out again and run around and disappear back into our bivvies. Our thought process was that if the helicopter was using infrared, it would see us running around and then suddenly disappear. The helicopter remained above us, circling for around half an hour, maybe longer, before finally flying off towards Milton Keynes. Probably another 10 minutes went by when Tim, who ran the on-site tackle shop at Linford, received a phone call from a policewoman he knew, asking if he was fishing on the lake. After putting the phone down, Tim explained to us that a lion had escaped from a private collection and was very likely in the area we were fishing.
No. A lion?
That's what it says.
What, lava?
Panicking now? I remember things suddenly feeling a little bit more serious and actually feeling quite generally worried for my safety, although I couldn't help laugh when my mate Neil grabbed a short bank stick, claiming he would be able to defend himself with it. Whilst I knew lions could swim, my plan was simply to jump in the lake and start swimming across to the other side as soon as possible, as I felt I was probably able to swim faster than the lion might be able to. Jason reckoned he could run fast enough to get into his car, which was parked up by David Miles' house a few hundred yards away. So having all decided on our plans, we cracked open another beer and carried on.
That'll help.
Yeah.
It was getting on for 11 p.m. and about half an hour had passed since the phone call telling Tim about the escaped lion. Obviously, the banter had changed, and we were now putting together a list of 101 ways to kill a lion if it attacked you. It was then that the police helicopter returned. Once again, it hovered over our heads for what seemed like an eternity, until I guess it was running low on fuel, and eventually flew off. By this time, we were convinced that the escaped lion was going to be somewhere close. But as we were all fishing from the middle bank, there was only two ways into us, and both entrances were at least 100 yards away, which would give us plenty of time to put our individual plans into practice should it approach us. I think we'd had too much to drink to realise that being dark, it would probably get within feet of us before we saw it. Shortly after, Tim received another phone call from the policewoman to inform us that the police wagon was going to be sent up to the lake to pick us up for questioning. Tim had to come clean and admit that it wasn't an escaped lion, but there had been an attempted murder in a big house on the other side of the lane from us, where a gun had been used. Realising that Tim had obviously been winding us up about the lion, I suspected he was also winding us up about the police coming to collect us. And so after about an hour, we all decided to head off to our bivvies and go to bed, despite Tim trying to convince us he was telling the truth. I was spark out at around 1:30 a.m, and Tim came round and woke me up, telling me the police were here and that we needed to go to Milton Keynes police station. I told him I thought he was speaking bollocks, and if the police were here, they'd have to come and get me. Sure enough, 2 minutes later, a bright torch was shining in my face with a fully uniformed policeman telling me that I needed to get into the van immediately. Minutes later, all four of us were sat in the back of the police van with two other police officers, and we were told that we weren't permitted to speak to each other. When we got to the police station, we were all put in separate interview rooms and questioned individually. As it turns out, they weren't questioning us as suspects, but just needed to get information that hadn't been influenced by us talking amongst each other about what we thought we'd seen or heard. The process seemed to take forever, but eventually, after having all given our statements, we were put back in the van and taken back to the lake. By now, it was just gone 6 a.m. and the sun had already been up for an hour or so. In hindsight, probably the worst part about the whole experience was that we weren't given the time to reel our rods in. So when we got back, all the rods were out, but not one of us had had a bath.
Obviously. Great story.
Very good.
I was expecting, when he said we've got powder in the back of the van, I was waiting for the old music to come. His face wound him up that much.
Yeah. Right, so the other one is one from Mick O'Dell. It was the 16th of June 1990-91, based on the car that I had at the time. This becomes part of the story later. Like Damien, obviously sucking up, I too like to be fully prepared with a backup plan. The gear, food and bait was all prepared for an opening week on my local club lake with my lifetime fishing buddy, Dave. We set up on the 15th of June, windbreaker and brolly, with the Sunlander as a bed. The lake had a few rules back then that included no bivvies and no gas stoves. I think it was to stop. I think it was to stop the time bandits and people throwing gas cylinders in the bushes, etc. After setting up, we went to the pub for a few pints and returned before midnight. Our firework lit the sky and signalled the start of the season. We could hear everyone around the lake casting out and bar alarms being set. It was a little after sunrise when one of Dave's alarms sounded. Being in a double swim, I helped land the mid-double. Now, being up and about, I set about cooking some breakfast. I was sticking to the rules and was using an Army solid fuel Hexi cooker, which are great for an individual, but slow when you're trying to cook a full English for two. Dave, in his need for an urgent cup of tea, didn't fancy using my ultra-slow cooking method. Instead, he decided to use a band gas stove to boil the kettle. As we were tucked into a tight swim and shielded from everyone else's view by the reeds, it seemed a safe bet. Halfway through boiling the kettle, the gas ran out. But in his haste to get a brew, he changed the gas cylinder, which failed to seal. With my head down cooking the breakfast, I suddenly became aware of a misty cloud drifting towards me.
Oh no.
Just as the words, "What the fuck are you doing? I'm cook," left my mouth, there was an explosive kaboom as the vapour cloud hit the naked flame. As Dave screamed... Dave screamed as he ran past me, parting the rods as he dived into the lake, leaving the gas stove spinning uncontrollably around the swim, spewing fire like a flamethrower. The flames melted part of his brolly, sleeping bag, and all of our lines as the gas stove hissed and danced around this very enclosed area. Kicking the fireball out and onto the path behind us, I managed to extinguish it, hiding it in the swim as quickly as possible. Dave, now safe, the flames had been extinguished, climbed out the lake minus his hat, glasses, eyebrows, and any hair that was outside of his hat at the time of the explosion.
Must look like you.
Yeah. I'm the opposite.
Luckily, I'd made him bring some spare clothes, so I gave him the keys to the car and sent him to get changed while I repaired the damage. I was hand-lining all of the rods in. Luckily, the lines had melted but not managed to pass through the tip eyes. I then heard an unusual noise on the track, only to be met by a half-naked Dave with only one shoe on, hopping and swearing as he had managed to lock himself out of my car, having only been half-dressed.
Dave's a nonget, man.
Yeah, he's had a mare.
Cars weren't as secure as they are these days, so with an old tent peg and bank stick, I managed to get back into the old MG Metro. We patched up the swim, and with no rain forecast, the one brolly would have to suffice. After eating our cold breakfast, a few anglers came round and checked if we were all right. After seeing the devastation and hearing the alarms and landing fish and the landing of fish, etc., they said we could smell the bacon, then we heard the boom, and then saw a fireball spread out from the reeds across the water, followed by a man on fire diving into the lake. They all laughed when I pointed out the lack of Dave's facial hair. I told them that the pipe on the petrol stove must have disintegrated over the close season and caused the explosion. We fished on regardless and into the evening, but without his glasses, Dave was struggling to see. So the next day we packed up and went home. We were very lucky no one was hurt, and we laughed all the way back. My dad was shocked to see me, and when I told him all about it, he was in stitches and pointed out that had I not caught a fish for all the preparation I had done. So I decided to go back to the lake on my own, as I still had a few days off work. I settled back in the same spot now with only one brolly, and everyone assumed it was a new angler. Over the next few days, I was often greeted by other members with, "You're lucky to get in this swim if it weren't for those two twats in here the other day blowing themselves up." When I said it was me and my mate and his eyebrows should grow back soon, they disappeared rather quickly.
Brilliant.
Classic.
He's had a mare there.
Yeah, he's had a mare.
I think Jay Willis done not the exact same thing, but he had a Coleman and it set a light in his bivvy and set up the side of his armadillo, kicked it out and it rolled down the front. And as it rolled, it was over Golden Gates when it first started, I think, rolled down and rolled underneath his rods, burnt all of his lines, and all of his lines just went into the water.
Well, that's happened literally to John behind the desk last year.
Really?
He burnt all of the front of his bivvy and all his arm.
How?
Dodgy gas stove, wasn't it? Dodgy gas stove.
Sure.
User
Dodgy,
error.
Yeah. User error.
Yeah.
User error, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Yeah, love that.
So which one do you think?
I like the second one more.
My second one was my
Dave's had a mare there. I feel like they need to share those rods. I actually feel like Dave should win a gas stove.
Yeah.
I do like. I like the second story. I think it's good.
I do too.
Yeah. We happy with that?
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Well then,
Cool.
he has won. Who is it, Damo?
Mick O'Dell.
Mick O'Dell, you have won yourself that one-off set of Kaizen custom rods.
What a tickle.
What a tickle. We will sort out a little goodie bag for the other story because it was still very funny.
Definitely.
And any of the other ones that we've mentioned, we can sort out a little.
Yeah, and I'll email Mick and get his details.
Yeah.
So we can get the rods to him.
Brilliant. He's had a right touch there.
Yeah, very nice.
Rods.
Brilliant.
They'll look something like them anyway.
Not quite them.
Similar.
I've had 3 Kaizen greens turn up. Yeah, they're lovely.
That's it.
Yeah, class. We can really hear that above.
Some sort of hurricane above us.
Yeah,
apologies for that. You can hear that.
Should we get on to some of the questions, you think?
Yeah, we can do. We have got a couple of stories to come back, but should we do a couple of questions and maybe bounce back to a couple of stories?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, we've got one here from. We've got one here from Gary Payne on YouTube, and he said if you could go back to the early days, he's put 80s or 90s, but I guess we can go back even further if we want to, and take one item from today fishing, whether it be a rig, bait, or technology, or anything else. What would it be? Quite a good question.
I'll take my rods and reels.
Yeah. Just much better quality carbon and
you'd be casting a lot further than anyone else, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but you'd also be able to get the fish out of the weed a lot easier.
You know, I was adamant you were going to say bait boat.
I don't really know what there wasn't back then because I was like 8 in the 80s. No, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Don't know, like probably really sharp hooks. Would that make a difference?
Yeah, but
why didn't you have really shit hooks then?
We had shit hooks, but those. Yeah, but
you were sharpening them.
Everybody was sharpening. You know,
what, to sharp though? Or
yeah,
to
super sharp. Those wheeled boys were like next level, ridiculously sharp. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I don't. When did the SPOM come about?
Yeah, I was
and half edgy that, innit?
What about PVA bags?
SPOM was about
when
2009.
did the PVA bags come out?
Yeah, it's a good shout.
PVA bags. Well, the mesh.
Solid ones or mesh?
Yeah, when was like the sticks and stuff?
Because I think they were really good when they first came out, weren't they?
Well, hang on a second. There was a guy called David Hurst. He came up with the mesh that we used for funnel web.
Yeah.
And then a guy called Steve Spurgeon used to work for us. Put that mesh tube onto a paper towel tube. You know that you get like kitchen roll.
Yep.
The paper tube, and put the bait in. And that was the start of the funnel web. So that was.
What year was that though?
It was before I started. So I started
Early
in 2001. So no, it was late
90s.
98, something like that. I reckon 99.
Yeah.
Because Gardner used to sell the mesh just in a bag, didn't they? In a
I think so.
bag.
I think Hutchinson sold it on a spool, but never. You couldn't get the bait in it because it was hard to put it in. So,
so there was nothing like that in the 80s then, presenting something with a little pouch
Yeah,
of bait
stringer.
with it. Just stringer. No sort of bag element.
Don't remember
at all.
it.
No, I don't.
No. If you took the spinner
I was
rig
gonna
as
say spinner
we
rig.
use it now, like if
Yeah.
it's so much better than what's out there now, it's got to be so much better than what was there.
Imagine having a chod rig back in the day.
Yeah.
Hinge stiff.
How many people were fishing back then not fishing for days on end?
Most
Lots.
people.
That's what I'm saying. Now you could go back with the naked chod, with the spinner, and you are fishing 100% of the time. You're catching them a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, like mid-80s, we were fishing with Dacron, like 11-pound black spider, with the shittest hooks you can imagine. Just tying a blood knot and then putting the tag through the back of the eye, and then tying a loop on it. So the hook could sort of sit off at any angle when it hit the water. You know, putting a bit of silicone on the hook was like a revolution.
Really?
Yeah.
Just hold it all in place.
What about bait wise? Is there anything like let's go 80s? Is there anything like you could take back use now bait wise that wasn't about then that you think would do some damage?
See, we can't answer this one, Damo, because we weren't there. But
no.
80s.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
all of the baits are the same.
Yeah, all the particle baits were the same, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, we used to fish with semolina and soy flour. We used to catch loads on it.
Yeah. No, 80s, not 70s. No.
Mate, most of the baits you're using now are semolina and soy flour.
When did the old cell come about?
That was
2006, I think it was being tested.
Yeah. That's unlocking the old car park. You take that back to the old early 80s, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, the old CSL was. That was a game changer.
I used to love the pellet. CSL
Activate
pellet
as well. Original Activate.
Yeah. Bait's a weird one, isn't it? Like you said, it doesn't seem to have come that far. But when you think back when some of these real big baits now that are doing a lot of damage, they are after, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah, they are. But I still think a lot of the particle baits can do just as much damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nothing's changed that way. Like sweet corn is like
Sweet corn,
one of our
tigers,
favourite
hemp.
baits.
Yeah.
Or tigers. Yeah, like you can't.
They were there, weren't
They were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are things like tigers? When were tigers getting prepared properly and used like?
We was using them when we were kids. Tigers.
Yeah.
Only because the boys who were fishing over Layer, they used to, it was all at Catapult Range, all fishing off the swim called the Island, where you could walk out and throw bait out. So, we were using tigers, like properly prepared tigers, and peanut, sort of, 82.
Mm.
Where do you think this? You know, like loads of places ban tigers.
Yeah.
Or because they're in the beginning, it was it was about them not being prepared properly.
I don't know.
But is that I'm not having that.
No, I
Like,
think that's panicking.
But panicking about
Panicking?
what?
Well, I suppose because you see the bait swell up. Probably you had people not using them fully soaked, if you like.
Yeah, but are they going to get eaten before
They pass them so well as well, don't they? That's the mad
Yeah.
They're
thing.
not going to swell up in their stomach and kill them,
Tiger nut, isn't
surely.
it? You wouldn't have thought so,
No.
would you?
It's not going to stay in them long enough. So do you think that whole rule and that whole panic is just baseless?
Well, it is in a way because it's not really an
know.
argument because there's obviously loads of waters where you can use them and they thrive and they do really well and there's no issue. So it's not really an argument, is it?
I mean, Layer, there was so many carp in that lake. The tigers were dominating it. You could pick a tiger up out of the margin, put it on, and just cast it out,
yeah.
and you catch a carp on it.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Right, well, Damo's just made us a cup of tea, which is amazing in itself, but just look at that. How the hell are you supposed to drink out of that? Through the eye?
With great difficulty.
And he's done that on purpose, definitely has. Right, Tom, where were we? You were just about to say something about
I was
that.
going to say, if we're going to go back to the 80s or 90s, the Spom is quite a good one. And whilst we were on the break, I did also think like really good pineapple pop-ups or good bright ones. Didn't Frank Warwick sort of pioneer that in the 90s, probably late 90s?
Yeah,
high visual.
Yeah,
because that was when I was first getting into it, really.
Yeah.
And I can imagine if you went back with an amazing hook bait and a spinner rig, you're
cleaning up.
clearing up.
Yeah.
I do feel like that. You mentioned the chod Damo. I'd love to go back and have a season, 1981 or something, with a naked chod.
And a good fluoro.
And a good throwing stick. Oh my God, you are absolutely cleaning up, surely.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, because the seagulls aren't going to be a problem in the 80s, are they?
It's a good point as well. They've got
Seagulls
worse,
have
haven't they?
ruined it. They've ruined throwing stick fishing, haven't they?
Yeah.
I often think I really want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to get there at night, stand there at the front of the swim for like 2 hours and put out like not 2 hours, but an hour. I put out 5 or 6 key of bait with a throwing stick because nowhere's seeing that spread now, are they?
Mate, you've got to use 22 millers. I fished over Welly a couple of years ago and used 22 millers. They got bored of trying to eat them after about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's too big for them.
It's just too big.
Yeah.
But if you could have a spread of 5 key 15 millers out there that you've put out on dark, and then you wake up in the morning, you've got this big spread of boilies out there they haven't seen in ages, and you've got 3 pop-ups out there. You're catching them like that, aren't you?
I just love that, and there's a few venues I've fished at where we've done that, but that times where everything's right and you've got a big wind coming over your head or something, and you're fishing to a back margin or a bay, and you're just getting your rods out nice and easy, and then you're just peppering every now and again. You're going to put a few more out, getting a bite. It's just effortless baiting up. That
He's
fish
making
is
it
the
sound
best.
like they're just all going down.
It's that splitting
The swim's covered. Keep leaving them out behind me.
You're not
Stuck in
Damo,
there.
mate.
Oh, throwing stick, what an art. It's a great form of fishing, that.
It's brilliant if you've got a good throwing stick.
When did that come about, the throwing stick?
Throwing stick, years and years ago.
Was it Cobra? Were they
No, like they were making them out of. Bruce Ashby was doing straight ones at the carp shows I went when I was a kid. So
Oh, really?
Oh, wow, okay.
big, long, straight ones.
64.
Yeah, I think 52. Yeah, I think Cobra did I don't know if they did the first curved one. I can't remember. Because Frank came up with the easy stick that we sold.
Yeah.
But I can't remember whether it was.
I know Cobra. I'm sure Cobra had them out before Korda. Because I remember being in Wass's before the Easy Stick came out.
Adrian, who works here, he had a great story. He was fishing over Gosfield with one of them big cobras, the big ones.
Massive ones.
And they was fishing up against these reeds, which probably seemed about 300 yards out, but it's about 80 yards. They're putting the boilies out, and he's just like, just as it's getting dark, he's gone, vroom, and he's just like, got a handle.
Snapped off.
Gone out in the lake.
Them Cobra sticks used to be a bit like that, didn't they?
That's what it was. It was
right,
Cobra,
Yeah, I know. You saying that, I was joking with you about the bait boat. Could you imagine one of them back then?
They had bait boats back then, Geese.
Not early 80s, did they?
Did.
They really?
Regan did the
invented
first
it.
one.
Really?
Yeah.
We had
Regan invented it. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Well, you don't watch our podcast because he come on and brought it in.
No.
No.
So when was that then?
I can't remember what
He
year it
invented
was.
the
but
first
God, I
bait
don't
boat.
feel like
Probably in the
I did not
70s.
know that. That's bad, really. I should have known that. But I felt like they were a lot later than that.
No,
I
he
feel it was
did.
78 he did it.
He came out with it because he'd seen someone trying to do it, and because he was a sea captain, knew how the boat worked. He knew which type of hull to use and all the rest of it. Did it. I think he used it once and never used it again. Thought he was cheating.
He's right.
Did he
Yeah.
do it for pike fishing though?
He might have done.
Don't think it was
I
for
can't
carp
remember.
fishing. I'm sure it was for pike.
Oh, it'd be
taking
good for
dead baits
yeah,
out.
that's good. I'd use it for that because pike fishing doesn't even really count anyway, does it?
Well, what's good about them is I have
Work
used them for
straight
that.
face
Is when
on
you've
pike
got when you've got like a headwind and you want to fish like the drifter method. Like normally when you get
Yeah.
to a lake pike fishing, it's game over unless you can get in that area of the wind. With a bait boat, you can gun it right out to the middle, drop it off, and then you can just gradually
Yeah, I
wind
will.
it back,
Back
and
in.
it comes towards you. So it is a really good method for. But most of the time when you're fishing those big waters, obviously sometimes when it's a bit choppy and that you can't really use a boat. But
I used to
when
be
the wind's up,
fascinated as a kid going on along Abberton Reservoir when they're allowed to fish it,
Yeah.
and you get the pike anglers there at the weekend, and then just if the wind was off their back, just
drifter
watch them
float.
drifter veins going out.
Yeah.
I just think it was amazing. Just barely see it, and then it would bury.
I think
It's
a lot
so
of that.
exciting.
I think the drifter float came from Everton.
Oh really?
I think so because I know Eddie Turner and Vic Gibson were fishing down there.
Yeah.
I don't know when. It was a long time ago, but that was like a premier pike venue. I remember I
Well, it
went.
did the record, didn't it? At one point.
No, that was Ardley.
Yes. Sorry, it was.
Yeah, I remember fishing down there. Me and my mate went down there and spinning. We was about, I don't know, 10. Second cast, hook one. This bloke's come down and just started shouting at us, like, how to encourage children to go fishing. But, ended up losing it and, like, just threw us off. Like,
What, 'cause you weren't allowed to be there?
yeah,
Oh.
Wow.
Well, you are not allowed to.
Kids though. Kids are allowed, aren't
of
they?
course they are.
great. Well, there you go. There's a few little tricks there you could have took back. Right, let's move on. Let's get to another question. This one, if it's tough going for a bite and you feel like the location is right, what's the first thing you would change and why? Whether it be the hook bait, the colour, the type of rig, zigs, etc. Is there something that you feel like you're on fish, it's not happening? Do you just keep everything the same, or is there just like a go-to? I'm not getting a bite. It should be. I'm going to try this.
Well, I think if you've been there, like if that's one of a few trips over the last few weeks, and you know that you've got the bait right, and you should be getting one, first thing I would do is just recast what you've already got out there. Because if it was working last week and the week before and the week before that, the chances are it's going to work.
Even
again.
if you're seeing fish, like if you're on.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So if you've got all the rods out there and you've got things on that you were confident and you caught the week before, then I'd be happy just to reset them basically to see if you can get a bite. If it's like your first trip back and you're not sure that you've got the bait and the hook baits and that right, then I would start with probably hook baits. I think I'd probably change straight away. And then maybe move on to later in the session to actually completely change the bait you're putting out, or maybe the depth of water. But
Yeah.
the first thing would normally be hook baits, I'd say.
When you say hook baits, you'd go from, say if it was like high visual, you might try and match what you're putting out there and vice versa.
Yeah, like if I've got a yellow pop-up out there, I might put a dark one out on the bottom,
Yeah,
something like that. But I don't need to change one rod, and if you get a bite on that, then great.
yeah.
And then change the rest over. But I wouldn't go changing loads of things at once, because if you change loads of things, then you don't know what one's made the difference.
Yeah.
So I'd start with hook baits, maybe then bait itself. But the chances are, if you've got something decent out there, it will work, and it's probably not sitting right. So just recast what you've already got.
Right, David?
Exactly what.
Exactly the
he said.
same. Yeah,
Yeah, recasting's the biggest thing.
yeah.
I think.
I think the only other thing I'd add to that, I'm the same with Dovey, hook bait's the thing I'd change first. But if no one else is catching either, sometimes a little zig just over the top of the bait, like maybe 2 foot off the bottom. I think a lot of the time the fish know it's there, but are not dropping down, and the zig can trip them up.
So just one out of the 3 rods.
You don't do that much though, do you?
Well, to be fair, when I'm fishing that, where you're looking to change your hook baits because you know you're on fish, it's places like Billy's, Hodgetts.
Yeah.
I'm on Norton. I kind of know it's going to happen. But if it's really not, a zig's the first thing I'd put on.
Yeah, no, zig is right. But I've never, Maker does that quite a bit, them 2 or 3 foot zigs, and I just never do it. And it does make perfect sense, and it probably does it does work, but it's not the first thing I change.
I think
No, it's not my first thing either. I'd still be hook baits first.
Yeah.
I think that recasting your rods, redoing your rods is something that I think you grow up doing it all the time, recasting just because it's cool to cast in it when you're young, and you just keep recasting. I'm going to have another go, freshen it up. And I think as you sort of developing carp fishing, I feel like you leave your rods out there more and more, feeling like I know they're set, they're perfect, I don't need to touch them. But I know fishing with you, Tom, you're 100% on redoing the rods. Like late afternoon, aren't you? Early evening, all the time. You'll never leave them. No, which is something that I would say I leave them a lot more than I probably should.
I do the same. I think, depending on where you're fishing, if you think you should have had a bite, you should and you haven't, but you should recast them.
I'm waiting for something to come in.
There he comes.
I like it's aimed at you, not me.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that I can get out quick. So if I want to redo my rods, it takes me like 15 minutes. I'll get them up, wrap them up, put dink, 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 put them out. Whereas it can take hours for you.
Not even multiple casts,
even
hours.
half an hour.
Yeah,
It can take hours. So for you, there's a bit of a toss up between whether you ruin the swim or whether you just.
Nice, isn't it? Do you know, a lot of people said to me at the show, you're getting picked on a lot. And here it is, straight away, New Year, bosh.
That's funny, isn't it? No, no. If you feel confident about getting out quickly, then at least redo one or two of them so you know you've got something fresh out there, and check whether your hook links are, because like say you think about that Walthamstow one, when you reel in, sometimes your hook link are bowed, because we used fluorocarbon hook links a lot. You can tell whether they've been sitting straight or not. And sometimes maybe the bottom's not quite as you think it is, and you're just not sitting quite right. So at least reel one or two in, check your hook links to make sure they're definitely flat, check your pop-ups are sitting right, check maybe your sharpened hooks aren't going black because it's a weird amount of oxygen or whatever in the lake. Just check things and redo them, because if you feel like you should have caught one and you haven't, normally your gut's right and you should have caught one. Something's not right, so at least check it,
I think what sets that tone sometimes, though, doesn't it, is if you've had some success in leaving them, which I have, which is why I think I started doing it a lot more. Like up at Baston where I fish, I started getting them out. We do the draw, I'd get the rods out, and obviously the right thing to do probably would be early evening, maybe redo them if you've got the rods out early. But I've had quite a few times where I thought, no, I know they're good drops, I'm not touching them, and then early hours of the morning or 10 o'clock the following morning, off it goes, and you have a real nice fish, and you think, I'm glad I left them.
I'm sure there are times when that's the right thing to do.
I think you've also not got to be scared to recast.
That's a big thing.
And also, if you don't get it quite right and you don't think it's right, then recast it again, because you can, I don't know about you, but like, you've got to get that drop. If you what you've caught on is hitting like that, then you've got to get it. And if it's like, that's nearly there but it's not, just wind it and do it again. And then you just know it's perfect.
You're also talking about a scenario though where you don't like, you're talking about Baston. You're not saying that you feel like you should have caught, so you're redoing them. Yeah,
no, you're right. It's a slightly different scenario.
But if you'd woke up the next morning and you thought, I should have caught last night, you're going to redo your rods, aren't you? So you're not. That's not the same scenario. You're fishing a lake that's difficult, where you're not getting many bites. You're definitely right, and you're waiting for a bite. That's slightly different than sitting out there thinking, they're all over me. They're fizzing. I should have had one and I haven't. You've got to change something.
I think a lot of it is that self confidence thing, though, isn't it? Because like you said, you can also get the scenario where you wind them all in, you rechuck them all, and nothing goes out as good as when it went out the morning you put them out.
You might.
I wish I'd left them. You don't quite get the same drop on the right hand rod. No, I never get that. It's firmer. It's always firmer. No, but I think there's so many. I think that's what makes fishing, isn't it? There's so many different scenarios. You can make loads of arguments for leave them, they're set, they're nice, even with your on fish. Because, like you say, I've had those times before when I've reeled in as well. I should have left them.
I think you can make them arguments, but I'd argue back that if you get more into the habit of recasting regularly, you'll get more bites because of it. More bites doing that rather than just leaving them.
Try it on El Social this year, maybe.
Yeah, you just got to recast them. I really think that.
Okay. Might start sticking that into my angling then. Recast the rods.
It depends. It all depends how you fish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And all jokes aside,
and how long it takes to get back out.
It depends how quickly you can get out. Because if you can get out really quickly, then without much disturbance.
What is the problem then?
No, there's no problem here.
Come on, you're amongst friends. Tell us.
What's the problem?
What do you think? What's going wrong?
What's going wrong for you?
There's nothing going wrong for me. All I'm saying is it's not a practice I do very often.
What cast?
I'll have when I've got them out. I won't leave them unless I'm really happy with how they've gone out.
Sorry, you went on a trip over Christmas, didn't you?
I did go on a trip over Christmas.
This makes sense now because you struggled with your casting, so you used a bait boat, didn't you?
No, on one rod I did.
Right,
Sorry,
On
one rod.
I'd forgotten
yes.
that.
No.
Yeah.
We're going to need to find a new possession.
No, hang on,
listen.
Tom. To be fair, it was what was it, over 35 wraps or something? How far was it?
No,
again?
it was 28 wraps.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't about that. It wasn't
28
about
wraps?
that. It was about a little test between casting and bait boats. See if I got a
little
different result.
test?
Yeah. I was going to do a little poll thing on, but it didn't catch any fish. So I didn't do
Or
it.
did you catch not on that either?
I lost one. Not on that. On casting actually.
Hang on a second. What takes him so long to cast out? Is it because he's not casting the?
It doesn't, Damo.
Yeah,
He
because
ain't going straight.
He's not
Made up.
accurate. Yeah, he's not accurate.
Oh, right.
This is made up. Don't listen
He
to
just
Damo.
bounces off the clip, doesn't hit the clip,
Bounces off the clip.
cast left and right, forgets his skyline marker.
Right.
Just everything really.
Full of shit he is.
Mate, you're
honestly.
on social media all the time.
Yeah, I
You're not
know.
one of these anglers who can't actually do the do.
Right, I see. I'll have to prove it now. I'm going to go out with Tom in the next couple of months and prove I can.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to another question. This one I quite like.
Why can Adam Reed not cast?
Yeah, why can't he cast? Putting pressure on fish when they're weeded up. Now, I've seen loads of debates for this, and loads of people do things differently again with this. So,
Right.
when you've got a fish weeded up, what is the best way to deal with them? Or any tips for it? Like, i.e., keeping the pressure on, putting the rod back down, slacking it off. Like, what is?
What's the question? Whether it's harmful to the carp?
No, not at all. Just how much pressure do you guys put on weeded fish
Well-
to get it to physically move?
I reckon every carp I've caught this season has been solidly weeded up, and I put as much. I don't want them to get in the weed, so I'll fish locked up, and then bully them out of the area. But you inevitably end up either kiting into a weed bed or whatever. So you have to apply a lot of pressure, because once the fish is in it, I've had loads of fish where I've landed the weed bed, which is twice the size of this table, and the carp is just sitting there in a free bit of water, just being pulled along as I'm dragging them out. It's not doing anything because its head's covered. They're not. The tackle's got caught up in the weed. You don't have any choice. If you can't get in a boat, you've got to try and get the fish in. Eventually, sometimes the carp get off because
Yeah, things happen.
Things
You're
happen,
putting
yeah.
everything to the pressure point.
So what are you pressure-wise? Are you talking about almost like to like the everyday person? Are you talking about the sort of pressure where you'd almost feel like something could break? That
Yeah.
sort of pressure?
Yeah, I use 038 line, which is probably 18 to 20 pound. My rod is fully compressed to get that weed bed moving. Once it's moving, you can generally pull them in. And the fish, once they're in the weed, they're not going anywhere, and you end up having to part the weed, get the net underneath it, and all that sort of thing. It can be a bit of hassle, but yeah, mate, I'm not scared about just
Heave ho.
giving no line and walking back with the rod, put it at full compression, walking back and back and back. Once you get it moving, it comes quite easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So is there any circumstances where you put the rod back down, slacking the clutch off or anything like that, or not?
Doesn't work.
No.
If you're fishing a lake where you've got barbless hooks, like where I've been fishing, it's a 50-50 if the fish is still on when you get it in.
Yeah.
Because you've got that amount of slack, they can move around. If the line's caught in it, no, just got to heave them in.
Like you, Tom?
Well, I think you've you've seen me, haven't you, at Raysbury?
Yeah.
Yeah, I pull. I really
Yeah.
pull until I think my rod's going to snap.
Yeah.
But I will also. It depends on the type of weed and how far you are out, and a few of the scenarios. But I will. It isn't barbless there; it's barbed. So I will, before I do that, often slacken off to see. Because sometimes they do swim out, and you can leave the rod in the rest for a little while just to see if they swim back out. But often when that happens, you just pull them back into
Yeah,
the same
that's what I
weed
was gonna
bed.
say.
So I'm fishing the same line as Damo, 038 all the way through. It is so tough that I pull until almost that line snaps.
One thing I think is definitely worth mentioning, because if someone's listening to this that doesn't fish weedy waters, or even a non-angler, would think you're saying about putting the pressure on, you've got fish on the end. Just, it's worth pointing out that pressure is not on that carp whatsoever.
No.
No, it's all on the line.
The line's going down into a weed bed and then almost going down. Like the reason Damo's saying about the barbless hook is because the line is slack between where it's touching the weed and where the fish is. Not
Yeah.
slack, but it's not as tight as it is between your tip and the weed. And if you've got barbless hook on, they just chuck it out straight away.
Yeah.
And that goes to show that it's not. You're not pulling really, really tight to where the fish's mouth is.
Well, they even get off barbed hooks in those scenarios, don't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it just shows you there's no pressure there whatsoever.
But
They're just-
even if you've got your rod bent at test curve, like 3.5, 4 pound, whatever we use. I remember probably when I first started here, I think Sipography did a test, 100 yards of line out, looper line to a set of scales, rod at test curve, and you're putting about 4 pound of pressure on at the hook end. Barely
Yeah,
anything.
nothing.
It doesn't convert the same as you expect it might do.
No, I think really you should use braid. I think in them scenarios, I think you would land more fish. I just don't like using braided mainline. But the closest to it is this line that we've got coming out this year. It's very, very low stretch and very, very tough.
Yeah.
And I use that straight through in very weedy conditions, and I've landed a high percentage of fish that have got into the weed.
Yeah.
I've lost some fish there that have cut me off, but you're going to get that in lakes like that where there's lots of mussels and lots of weed and lots of snags. But when the fish are getting into the weed, I'll pull until I move that weed bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that exactly the same thing saying about losing one over Christmas at North Bank. Same thing, got weeded up. I'm using that 0.38 as well. And I only had my £3 Kaizens, but I was literally like, when you're walking back and you think something's going to go, either the line or that, and it doesn't. It's so strong, that line.
It's really strong.
I think that's definitely something that's changed a bit in fishing. I don't know if you agree, but it always used to be that 12-pound mono was like the thing, wasn't it, for so many years? And now there's a lot more people going 18, 20, like just belt and braces. You don't need to. It's so good now, isn't it? The diameter's so fine. It's so supple. I think you can go a lot heavier than what you probably could.
And all the rest of the kit's got so much better, isn't it? Even from when I first started, like if I put 20-pound line on, there's no way I'd be able to cast 100 yards.
No.
But I can fish 120, 130 with that 038 all the way through, and that breaks. It must be over 20 pounds. So all the rest of the kit's got better, and it means that you can use thicker line, and thicker line is better, isn't it, in them scenarios? You use 10-pound line in them scenarios, you're landing nothing.
No, exactly.
But yeah, pull. Let it sit on the rest for a little while to see if they do swim out.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works. And also sometimes I sort of slacken off. Like if I'm pulling to almost breaking point and nothing's happening, I'll slacken off just for a minute, then I'll reel down tight and pull really quickly into it. And sometimes I think just that movement sort of shocks the fish into moving a little bit, then you get a bit of the weed moving. Yeah.
Great. Some great questions there, and you're all going to get a little Korda clothing goodie bag, so we'll be in touch with those guys. I think we're going to finish on a couple of stories. I know Spooner's got a little story.
Yeah, I had a late entrant for the competition, but it was too late. But I said I'd share it because it's festive related.
Right.
Christmas Day, guy's going round to his families, loading up his van in the morning with the presents, all in the back. He's in the house doing bits and pieces. Here's the boot gets shut, no problem at all. And then he hears his family go, "God, what's that smell?" And he's just thinking he lives in the countryside. Could be farmers out, just assuming it's just the countryside. And he hears his missus go, "What is that smell?" So he's gone outside, had a sort of sniff in the air, and he's like, "I know what that smell is. That smell is butyric acid."
Oh no.
He's opened up the boot. In between, he's had a little bottle of, in the little glass bottles they come in. That's got, somehow it's in where the boot latches. Pulled the boot down. The butyrics exploded and gone over some of the presents. So it's Christmas Day. They're meant to be around the families. They've had to not take the van because it smells like death. Get the presents out. Rewrap a load of them, the ones that have been affected. Get them into the car. Get over to the in-laws. Put the presents in their lounge, and the whole time being able to smell it.
Yeah. That's bad.
That's bad.
You know what it's like if you get a single drop of that butyric.
Well, some people won't know. It's like blue cheese, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrible.
And that story was sent in by Mr. N. Spooner.
No.
Yeah. I'd been to see my dad the day before, and I'd seen this little bottle of butyric acid in the back of my van. I thought, should move that. Didn't. Forgot about it. Literally, as I've said, Emily shut the boot. It sprayed on a couple, like Craig's present out in the warehouse. It gone on one of his, and I'm out there thinking, oh my God.
Mate, that's a disaster.
And all day, I'm
That's
just...
a new van.
Mate,
That's a set of rods, isn't it?
Mate, I've jet washed the back, Febreze.
No,
it's awful. It is awful.
How many presents were done in then?
Thankfully, only 3 took the brunt, and I just got them out route. But even when it was in the in-laws' front room, you'd go in there and you're like, oh God, no. We told them, we said, like, this has happened. This could be.
So
a problem.
is your van still really bad now?
Yeah.
That'll be like that for ages.
Yeah. Christmas Day.
They're going to love that, aren't they, taking that back?
Yeah, what is that smell? I don't know, mate.
Oh, you've got to give your van back soon?
Yeah, soon, yeah.
Decent. You've got a car says story. Now, I think I remember you saying it before, and it's pretty drastic.
Yeah, it's quite a dark story to finish, actually, but nothing...
Well, it's funny, though.
We can do that, and then we'll finish with our plans for the next
Okay,
few
let's
weeks.
do that so we can lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Is it a long story?
Why do you need a toilet? I'll be as quick as I can with it. So basically, I after seeing the Car Says Monster Carp episode, it was one of those ones I chucked on the old bucket list, but I'm going to go there one day, definitely. Mate of mine, Alex Bransby, we used to go away we try and do it now, we haven't done it for a couple of years, but try and go away once a year somewhere in Europe to a public water. And we didn't have anywhere to go. And I was thinking about where I'd like to go. And I thought, I wonder if we could do Car Says. So I rung up Spooner. I wasn't working here at the time. I was working for Tracker. Rung up Spooner and says, Car Says. He says, yeah. I went, realistically, it's a long way to go. Is it like 14 hours or something?
At
Trying to
least.
remember.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
So I
South
thought,
France.
it's a
Isn't it
long way to
Cassian,
go.
isn't it?
If we're going to make that effort, I want to know there's a chance. So I remember ringing you and saying, Car Says, if we make the effort, we can be with the chance. And Spooner straight away said, 100%, you are going to.
I would have said that about anywhere because that's just what I'm like.
That's what you like, yeah.
Yeah.
But he did say, go down there, take the right bait, fish properly. There's a lot of like mixed angling goes on, as you know, on them sort of venues. So when someone goes down there and does it semi-right, you're going to catch them. So put all the preparations together to go down there. You won't like this, Damo. Got a bait boat sorted out because I was told you can't really fish it without
Yeah,
one.
you would struggle there, to be fair.
So I got all that all together with an echo and all the gubbins and everything. It cost quite a bit of money. But I thought if I'm going to do it once, I'm going to make the effort. So with everything loaded up, I did the drive near enough in one go.
Did you?
Yeah, which was pretty savage. We booked the same gîte that you guys had for Monster Carp because
It's on the lake.
Yeah, by the side of the lake. For anyone that doesn't know, you can do Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
That's it.
And then it's only
Days
days
only.
after that. So
Yeah.
we'd worked it out to get down there on the Friday. So we had the nights, and then I had the gîte for in between. So we had everything bang on. Got down there. I remember it was pissing with rain, but it looked amazing. The water level was really low.
What a lake that is,
Yeah,
by the way.
unbelievable lake. But there's not many places for him to go. It was like you could tell they'd all be in the middle. I'd got a bit of help off of Damien, who had gone with you
Oh, yeah.
to do the Monster Carp.
God.
So he told me pretty much where I needed to be. Arrived there to see a guy and his missus fishing their sort of half-day session in the swim, basically, I needed to be in to get to this central zone. So went along, had a little chat, broken French. He said, oh, we're going later on. Okay, no worries. So we just got all our kit down. As you'll know, it's a nightmare to get your kit down, isn't it? So part the van
Stick-
above.
Did you end up fishing where I was?
Yes.
You got that weird bank to get
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
So we're handballing all the pass you put to me, to you, and getting all the kit down. It took ages. Just chuck the tents up, a little bit up from these people, wait for them to go, and then when they moved, we got everything in, and we were in the zone, and they were literally like whoop out in
Were
this
they?
middle, and I was just like, oh, like they looked massive at 200 yards. So I was like,
Lots of big fish. Well, there was.
I couldn't, you know, when you
Nothing
just
in there
can't
now.
really get ready quick enough. I was just like trying to get everything done because I was thinking we're probably going to catch straight away because they're literally just there in the middle. So I got the bait boat out, said to Alex, he started sorting out his stuff. I said, I'm going to get the boat out there and start mapping up the area and see where we've got these holes in the weed, because that's what I was told. Just look for the holes in the weed, get them marked out, you're going to catch them. So I've drove this boat out. I'm learning it as I'm going, this boat's fucking full of technology. And then as I'm driving the boat out, up to my left, I can just hear this shouting and commotion going on. There's a load of weird tents and bivvies. And it put a bit of context on it. This is probably the equivalent of like 5 swims up on a lake here. So you can make them out, but they're a long way away.
Yeah, it's a couple. I know they would be on that point down
Yeah.
to your left, about 200 yards away.
Yeah. And he's screaming. They're screaming in like French or something. Like it sounded aggressive. And I was just like, yeah, I was like, can't be us. I'm going to Alex, it can't be us, can it? And he went, no, because I'm going straight out. So I'm about 200 yards out, just mapping up this thing, and I see them start coming along, 2 of them. There's loads of them, but it's 2 of them start walking towards us, and I was like, oh, here you go, Alex. He comes in, starts going absolutely bananas in like French, and I'm like, I'm straight out. I'm sort of trying to speak French, but can't. I don't even know they were French. And I'm like, I'm straight out. And he's going, no. He's going absolutely apeshit, these 2 lads. They're probably about 20, something like that. The old bag, old man bag on and all that. They looked like rascals, basically. And I was just like, oh, this ain't good. And I was like, look, we'll go a bit to the right. We'll go a bit to the right. And he's walked off in the aft. Anyway, while I've been talking to him, unbeknown to me, this bait boat's not one of those ones that when you take your hand off, it stops. It has to be back in the middle.
Oh, right, yeah.
So this
Oh,
bait
no.
boat's gone off to the left and got stuck in the middle of a weed bed, like 200 yards out.
No.
So I'm like, this is fucking can't be happening. 'Cause that's all we got, one bait boat. So I've chucked my waders on, got a spod rod out, 4.5 ounce zip lead. The only way I can do it, I can't swim out there or anything. It's miles out, and I'm just repetitively
Yeah, too
casting.
weedy as well.
And they just carry on screaming, these guys, and shouting. And I can't do anything. Like, I can't even get the boat to move to the right. And he's just thinking I'm casting out and that, I reckon. And then about 10 minutes passed.
It's taking 4 hours to get out.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's had some
Yeah.
weeds down there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking this is everything's. If I can't get this bait boat back, the whole thing's finished anyway. Because I can't unless we fish in 100 yards trying to find some holes in the weed. We're not going to catch them anyway. So I'm repetitively casting at this thing, and I'm getting somewhere near, but it's fucking miles out. Anyway, all of a sudden they've come walking back down into the swim. Alex is just behind me. I'm up to the limit on the waders because it's obviously a long way. They're coming, these two guys. The guy on the right had one of those, like a tree surgeon's saw knife.
No.
Like a massive, like huge, like proper bastard, like, I don't know, probably about 20-inch one of those. And the other guy had a normal traditional knife. But
Just
quite
a normal machete.
Yeah, no, quite a big knife, not just like a pen knife, like one of those ones you get in a little holster.
So
They've
like
come in-
Crocodile
Crocodile
Dundee.
Dundee.
Yeah, they've come in the swim, and Alex is right next to him, and they go, no, and they're waving these knives at us, and I'm trying to explain to him, I'm talking to Alex because they can't understand any English, and I see Alex he sort of reached down and grabbed this like storm pole, and I looked at Alex and I went like, no, don't do that, because he's obviously thinking they're going to fucking try and stab us, and I'm out in the water and I'm looking back at Alex and I'm thinking, he's got kids at home. I never had kids at the time, but he's got kids at home. I'm thinking, we don't need this. I'm going. Said to Alex, we're going, mate. I ain't putting up with this.
Sad, isn't it?
It's horrendous.
God.
Anyway, I'm trying to
scary.
explain to him. I'm saying, I'm trying to get the boat back. Once I've got the boat back, we're going to go. And he's going, no, you go. And I'm sort of saying to him, I'm trying to get the boat back. And I'm just casting at his boat. And he's going, no, you go. And I went, look, we're going to go. And he's wandered off, and I've gone to Alex, start getting the gear up to the wall. I said, I ain't staying here, mate. I just didn't fancy it. There was quite a few of them up there, obviously.
I didn't fancy it.
No, mate.
So
it's not worth
the
it.
one
yeah.
good thing that
Didn't fancy it.
came out of this is something bad happens again in a minute. The one good thing that came out of this, out of nowhere, the old cast from Destiny, and I landed this 4.5 ounce lead in the hopper of this bait boat and managed to pull it out of the weed.
Did he not smash it?
No, didn't even mark it. I don't know how, but it didn't even mark it.
But you went in the bait boat.
I had to get it in the bait boat to get it out the weed.
And we're talking like 120 yards away.
No, we're talking 200 yards away, mate.
Come on.
Spod rod, full bifter, right in the
Realistic, yeah.
hole, 250. And I've got it in there, I've got it out of the weed, and I'm driving it back. And I said to Alex, he's wrapping things up, taking things up to the wall. With that, I've seen two of the lads go up the top, get on mopeds, and come driving across to that wall, you know, where it is
Yep.
above the thing. And just as they got to the van, they stopped. And I thought, oh no. And then there was just this explosion. I can't even tell you how loud it was. It just echoed through the valley. And I was like, he's done my front windscreen. And it's pissing down with rain. And obviously we just want to go. And then they sped off in these mopeds and gone up to the top corner, and they're just looking back. And I went, Alex, go and see what that is, because they had valuables in the car and all that. He's gone up there, and I'm getting all the bait boat back and everything. Basically, they'd driven past and done the front tyre with a knife.
Right.
And I'm thinking, fucking, they want us to go.
And now we can't.
Now I can't, because you just pump the tyre. So they've gone up there, so it's like the stress levels are like beyond belief. We've driven 14 hours down, stayed overnight in this shitty little hotel, got there, got in the prime swim. So you're talking going from absolute sky high to the bottom. No. And I'm like, we've got to go, mate. So we've loaded the van up. I've had to get underneath, get the spare wheel off, just get absolutely drowned and freezing, change the wheel. We're coming back down. As we're loading the rest of the kit up, a load more lads turned up on motocross bikes, started chatting to them lads, and then started motocrossing towards us. And I thought, we're going to get ironed out at the death. Like, I've got away with like getting killed with a knife, and now these guys have come along, and luckily they were nothing to do with them. They come up, said their bit, and then motocrossed off. And then we jumped in the van. We ended up fishing 2 or 3 different venues, and I never did get to fish casters because now it's been emptied.
Yeah.
And all the fish have been taken out. But a real harrowing story, and it would put
story.
most people off probably going to a public lake fishing. And when I think about it now, you'll know, because when you went, obviously you had quite a few people with you and eyes on everything. It is one of those places that when I actually got there, I did think this is in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, especially then.
Like, this is dangerous.
We've had that quite a few times with not people putting knives on us, but I mean, you sit like even like Morocco, South Africa, a few places when we're sitting there, you've got 80 to 100 grand's worth of kit with you. A load of people that can't fight except me and Neil.
Yeah, we're all.
Sonny.
I don't know what you're laughing at.
No, but you're sitting there, you think we are so vulnerable here.
Yeah.
And luckily, I think because we always do the monster carps with people that, like a bit with, Damien's normally there or somebody local, that I think that hasn't happened because we've always got some link to somebody that's close by. There's chance in their arm. I don't think they probably ever would have stabbed you. But you can't chance it, can you? They just want you off.
The thing is, it's a weird one, because we had this discussion driving off, because the whole time when that's happening, I was so livid because of the bait boat thing. When I'm looking back and that's happening, inside you're thinking, I could literally destroy you. Like, I'd love to just walk up and start punching your bloody head in, because you're so wound up by the situation.
All right, hard.
But but it did have that feel about they didn't have a great deal of value for
Right.
Like, it
Life.
felt like it could happen. It just they just looked like those
you
types
can't.
of
It's
people.
fishing.
No,
Yeah.
none of it's worth it.
No, it
got,
ain't.
You've got
No.
no.
And I think the worst thing was, like I said, I didn't have kids at the time, but Alex did, and one of them was really young, and I was just thinking, imagine if I'm out here in Chesties and I start gobbing off and he just gets stabbed. The other thing I thought was, like, if that had have happened, we had no way of trying to make that situation right with medical thing or anything like that.
No, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
aren't you? Scary life. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is a
Yeah,
scary
that'd
life.
you just got buried in the
Yeah,
back.
you'd have been gone.
You'd have been
forever.
catfish food.
Luckily, they netted it, didn't they? At least they'd have found me a few months later, wouldn't they?
That's crazy. Good story, though,
Yeah,
mate.
great
You can have
story.
those rods if you want.
Yeah, I'll have them rods.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's finish up with what people are up to over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we've got plenty of podcasts booked in, and we've got some really good guests coming up in the next month. So, away from that, what are you going to be doing fishing-wise, anyone?
I haven't fished much the last couple of weeks. It's been Christmas. I've just spent the whole Christmas with my family. It's been really nice, actually.
We had a little trip out, didn't we? Have we discussed that?
Burners.
We went
No,
to
we didn't,
Burners.
did we?
No,
yes.
we didn't.
We had a nice little social, didn't we?
We had a really good trip, actually. Got there, 2 of the good swims were available. We did 2 nights. No, I did.
You did one.
I did one
You
in the
went
end.
late
So
on the second.
I had to go late on the second night. But we caught, I think you caught 7, did you, in the end? And I
Yeah.
had 5, 12 fish between us.
Nice.
Spotted maggots.
Oh, you caught more than Tom.
I did a night more, to be fair.
Well, no, but we were just catching the same one.
Yeah, we were. They'd
there.
move in once the fish moved across us, we both had. We were on the phone to you at one point.
You
We
were,
in a
yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
and our first both had a bite at the same
was
time.
half windy over
It
there.
was windy.
Cold, wasn't it?
But it's windy up at Burners anyway because it's
raised.
It's like an irrigation style reservoir,
Yeah.
so it's raised. You're in the middle of nowhere, and it was 18 or 20 mile an hour winds.
No, it was more than that.
Was it?
It was. I think it was 30 mile an hour we were getting.
Right, but a 15 mile an hour wind up there would feel
Yeah.
like a 30.
Yeah.
So 30 just felt like you almost couldn't get your rods out. At times.
Although my swim was like paradise compared to yours, wasn't it? Mine was just round the corner off of that dog leg.
Yeah.
So you were like in it.
Yeah.
And I would just be sheltered a little bit more. Picked
Yeah.
well.
And then I turned up and went, can you just chuck these T-shirts off for a
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good trip though. And that was like there was people opposite us fishing bait boats, and we were fishing with the Spob and Fish Free out there. And you would have thought the bait boats would have done better, but actually I think we probably done better.
Yeah, we did. We definitely had more bites.
because we had bait going out there regularly.
Yeah,
and
control it better, can't you?
Yeah, for sure. And it was very windy, but fishing 2 or 3 on the spot. I was fishing maggot hook baits with maggot, corn, and a little bit of pellet over the top.
I was just maggot and corn with either maggot hook baits or little pango pop-ups.
Yeah, the panko pop up was doing it again.
Nice.
But yeah, we had a really good trip. But that was the last time we went out. That was in December, was it?
What about next couple of weeks? Anyone out next couple of weeks?
I'm going next week.
Yeah.
Just for a night. I haven't been out for ages. Weather's mental at a minute though, isn't it?
Yes.
What's
Thick
actually
freezing
happening with the
cold.
weather next week?
Steady
Let's have a look.
7s and 8s, I think,
That'll
in
do.
the days.
Yeah,
I like to try and catch a carp every month of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to go yet, but places like we mentioned earlier, Hodgett's, Billy's, they're always good for a bite. You can normally do something to extract a couple of bites. Blasford down the road, even Burners might have some spaces.
Yeah, that's true.
Good time to go for people as well, because obviously it's been so icy and cold, and like a lot of them feels like 2 days, and all of a sudden it's going to be 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That can make a difference, can't
You
it?
need a little bit of consistent temperatures in upper single figures or whatever, and it'd be
Yeah.
good. I think I'm going to go Raisbury. So
Carl would have a big hit the other day.
yeah, really,
Raspberry.
yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He catches a lot out there, Carl. He gives me the ultimate info. Carl does.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it's good to have somebody like that. He's a great guy as well. But I think he had 2 40s,
He cut
a
3
38,
30s.
a 30. I've got the list on my
Yeah.
phone. Like,
Nice.
quite impressive. So, yeah, I'll probably get down there again next week. Obviously, I only joined there at the beginning part of last year, so I didn't start until April, I don't think. But it would be nice to,
Start now
Yeah,
and-
beginning of Jan. By the time March, April comes around, I know what's going on. So yeah, we get going. We're probably going to South Africa as well.
South
in
Africa
a
and
few weeks.
Croatia. Yep.
So that'd be good.
Nice.
So we've got a lot
Then
lots
Boss
going on.
show. Me and you are going, haven't we? Done?
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah.
Got that
Yep.
in a couple. Well, it's not this
28th,
weekend.
isn't it?
Weekend.
Yeah.
Middle of the month, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I'll be at that one. And then we've got the Essex show in a couple of weeks as well. haven't we?
Essex show, yeah, first weekend in Feb.
This weekend in Feb, yeah. All creeps up. Oh, well, we'll catch up on what everyone's been up to in the next one.
Cool.
Good luck if you're getting out. Good luck to everybody listening and watching. Thanks again. We'll
So
see you on the next
thanks
one.
sometime.
Happy New
See
Year,
ya.
boys.
Take care.